Welcome to the webinar today, which is the benefits of web mapping integration. And today we're going to be looking at the what3words integration with our Cadcorp SIS WebMap application. So this is a joint webinar between myself and what3words. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to do some housekeeping. When I can get that to move, there you go. So, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're just going to do a little bit of housekeeping. So it's worth bearing in mind that this will be recorded. So if you were planning on writing notes down and trying to keep up with the demonstrations and the presentations that myself and Patrick later will be doing, then just bear in mind that it is being recorded. You are all in listen-only mode, which means that you are all muted. But you can ask questions in the questions panel to the right hand side, and what we'll do is we'll do a quick Q&A session at the end, and then on the exit of the webinar you'll get asked to fill in a survey that will help us plan future webinars and also discuss how this one went today. So it's worth just bearing that in mind as well. So today there is myself. So I am Ian Usher. I'm the business development manager for Cadcorp, that working with local authorities. And joined with me today is Patrick Arbuthnot, who is the what3words partnership manager. And Patrick looks after the emergency services within the UK, specifically helping police, fire, and ambulance use the what3words application inside the operation. Inside the control room and operationally. That's not right, but anyway, we'll gloss over that. And so the agenda today is going to be that we're going to have a quick discussion around about Cadcorp. I'm then going to pass over to Patrick, who's going to talk about the what3words and give us some use cases. I'm then going to talk about the integration. We're going to give a demonstration of the use cases. We're going to look at sort of key takeaways, and then at the end is the opportunity to get some questions over to us so we can answer them as well. So we like to keep these webinars really interactive. So the first thing that I'm going to ask you to do is just very quickly answer two really simple questions that just give us a bit more of an understanding around how you why you're here today. So the first question that I'm going to launch is, does your organization use web mapping? So if you can click on the button in front of you, I'll just give everybody a couple more seconds to fill that in. And I will close that one. So from that, I can see that 80% of you use web mapping, which is great. So that's a really good start to the first question. And then our second question is, does your organization use what3words addressing? And I'm going to launch that as well. So again, I'm just going to give you a couple more seconds to finish off answering that question. And I'm going to close that now. So I can see that's more of a 50-50 split. So that's good, because you're in the right place. So you're going to find out how the web mapping and what3words integrate nicely in order for you to get the most out of both applications. Okay, so I'm just going to give a little slide around who Cadcorp are. So Cadcorp are a UK-based software company who developed the Spatial Information System, or Cadcorp SIS, which provides desktop GIS used for capturing and analysing spatial data, and also a web and mobile application which allows for the sharing and visualization of spatial information over the web. And this is all built using the Cadcorp core technology. We provide our applications across multiple different sectors, and you can see some of these that are listed on the screen. And it's good to see that most of you today are from these sectors. So we've got emergency services, we've got a few local government, and then we've got a few infrastructure as well, which is great. And that gives a basic update about the Cadcorp software. What I'll do now is I will pass you over to Patrick, who can give you the what3words update as well.
Hi there, everyone. Yeah, thanks very much for joining today. And as Ian said, just wanted to give you kind of a brief overview on what3words, and then look at a couple of use cases specifically that a lot of GIS users have made use of around what3words so far. Many of you might already know what3words, who we are, but just by way of background, so we're a company based in London. We were started in 2013. There's now about 120 of us across the business. And the fundamental idea behind what3words and what we're trying to achieve as a company is to help everyone talk about everywhere. And what I mean by that, and essentially what we have done, is created a new global addressing system to make it easier for people to talk about location. This might seem like a sort of strange idea for a company to want to tackle. I guess there are many reasons why we've decided to do this, but first and foremost is the fact that most addressers around the world don't often do the job that we want them to do. One of the main problems with addressing generally is the fact that most places in the world don't actually have street addresses. So, you know, if you imagine you've gone for a walk in the middle of the countryside, you may have an accident, you may want to just tell someone where you've seen the best view. Doing things like this is often very difficult because places like these have no kind of street address. Similarly, you may be on a beach, you might know the name of the beach, but that beach could be 4.5, 5 miles long, or you could be at a music festival surrounded by tens of thousands of people, literally in the middle of a field. Trying to communicate your location in any of these situations can be really tricky. Even when you do have street addresses though, these, as I say, don't always do the job that we want them to do. And a big part of the problem is that digital maps really struggle to get accurate location from street addresses. So this is a really good example of pins dropping in the wrong place, where College Farm, so a farm just outside of London, if you type the street address into Google Maps, it drops a pin in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. But actually, if you know the area well, you'll know that College Farm is about 500 meters away up the road in a different location. This is true in rural areas, but also in more urban environments where you have large areas, things like shopping malls, stadiums, parks, all of which have one street address, but actually multiple different ways that you could get into and out of that location. And again, without having a really precise way to tell someone where you are, if you're at customer entrance 4, without having a street address, it can be really difficult for people trying to find your location quickly and easily. Street addresses can also be really confusing, and a big part of the problem is the fact that multiple streets in cities all have the same name. So a really good example of this in the UK is Church Road. So Church Road, there are about 5 different Church Roads in Liverpool. London has about 14 different Church Roads. If you know the city or area well, this isn't so much of a problem. But if you're new to the area, it can be really confusing. Street addresses can also change over time. And a really good example of this is the sign on the left, which is a road that used to be called Brandy Lane, is now called Park Road. If you've been living on that road for 10, 20 years, you may well still know it as Brandy Lane, which now doesn't exist on any maps. Similarly, the sign on the right, very conveniently for us, is a sign just outside of our office in London, where not all the buildings on Warrington Gardens are actually on Warrington Gardens. So if you live in number 7 Warrington Gardens, you've got to go around the corner onto a different street and just sort of hope that you find the right location. There are a number of solutions that exist to this problem. I'm sure all of you are very familiar with this, the lat-long coordinate. It's been around for many, many years. It's a brilliant piece of kit. It's totally accurate and covers every single point in the world. The only problem with this is the fact that it's 16 numbers long. So for most people, trying to use this easily and quickly without making any mistakes can be really, really difficult. So this is really where what3words fits in. What we've done is divided the world into a grid of 3 meter by 3 meter squares. And using a list of dictionary words, we've assigned every single square its own unique 3-word address. So essentially you have a really simple and really human-friendly way to talk about any location in the world, whether that's a specific entrance to a construction site, or whether it's someone who's had an accident in a rural location in the middle of a field and has no other way of communicating their location. All of these are covered by what3words. For those of you who haven't had a look, we have an app and an online map. Both of these are totally free. You can download the app now, have a play around with it if you'd like. The app works totally offline, and these are essentially the tools you would need to search for a 3-word address or discover a 3-word address to navigate to that location. Important to point out that we are not trying to reinvent the wheel. Fundamentally, all what3words does and all our technology does is convert GPS coordinates into words. So essentially, it's just a human-friendly system of GPS. We've also tried to make the system as human-friendly as possible. So one of the obvious concerns with using words is that people are liable to mishear or mistype words. So to avoid confusion, what we've done is spread similar sounding words as far apart as possible. So for example, table chair lamps on the east coast of America, table chair lamps on the east coast of table chair lamp on the east coast of Australia. If you make a slight mistake, as I did there, and accidentally type in an extra S when you're on the east coast of Australia, it's going to be immediately obvious that you've made a mistake, given that the only alternative will be 10,000 kilometers away. What this also then allows us to do is build in an error correction system called autosuggest. And essentially what this does is that it takes the current location of a user's device and suggests alternative 3-word addresses based on that location. So again, you can make pretty significant mistakes, and the app and the map can spot those mistakes and suggest alternatives. It's also available in 46 languages. So if English isn't your first language, you can switch into any one of those, whether it's Swahili or Dutch or Japanese or Spanish. And the idea here is that we want everyone to be able to use this in their own native tongue. So that's a sort of brief overview of the system and how it works. I guess it's important to say that what3words is just a new kind of address. So it's not necessarily just an emergency services system or a system used by local government or infrastructure. There are many different applications, and it's used by a very wide range of different companies, from automotive to logistics to ride-hailing to e-commerce and so on. And I think what's been most exciting, certainly over the course of the last year and a half, has been the work we've been doing with emergency services throughout the UK. As we see, there are 94 agencies who have officially said that they can accept what3words and are using what3words operationally. And that's up from 1 in August 2018. So really exciting momentum. On the back of this, we've also started to do a lot of work in infrastructure and things like utilities and transport also. And many of these companies are now up and running with what3words throughout their organization. There are lots of different ways that these organizations have been going about using what3words. We're not necessarily the emergency services experts here at all, so it's been really exciting for us and interesting to see the different ways that this is being used. So one of the key ones, marking and sharing locations for reporting, also things like asset management, and many occasions where this what3words has been used to help map out assets and help the public and emergency services communicate locations quickly. Another big one recently has been public reporting. So this can come in many forms, members of the public tweeting local councils, to even local councils putting what3words search boxes into reporting forms, for things like fly tipping, and so on. Another key one, particularly in the infrastructure and utilities sector, has been so for worker safety, encouraging workers to familiarize themselves with what3words and use this if they find themselves in an emergency, particularly for lone workers, has been really, really powerful. One of the key ones as well is using what3words to communicate between agencies. And the idea here is that what3words can create a common language of location to make the communication between different organizations using different control rooms much more easily. And it's not necessarily just emergency services. Now we have the AA also accepting what3words, local councils accepting what3words, highways agencies, transport networks, and so on. One more recently, which was really incredible to see, was a number of ambulance services using what3words in contingency plans. These are all examples from different services who use what3words for the recent Nightingale hospitals, places that ambulance crews are not necessarily familiar with and that don't have obvious entrances and exits. So a number of, as I say, ambulance services used it for that, which was really exciting and obviously something we were very happy to support with. And I guess what's been really exciting from the work we've been doing with emergency services around the UK is that this has really caught people's imagination. There's been a lot of coverage of case studies where what3words has been used to help find people in an emergency more quickly and easily. And it all really culminated late last year when this article in the BBC came out. And off the back of that, there's been a huge amount of interest. And for a couple of weeks at the end of last year, we were the top app in the App Store and on Google Play, meaning that there's now a really significant awareness amongst the public and generally about the system, hopefully making it more useful for everyone. So that's really the long and short of what3words. I'll now hand back to Ian to finish off.
Thank you, Patrick. Hopefully everybody can hear me again. So what I'll do now is I'll just finish off the kind of about the products that integrate with the what3words application. And that was a really good insight by Patrick that gives just to talk about the benefits of the what3words system. So we'll show how that works within WebMap before we can move on to a demonstration. So the Cadcorp SIS WebMap is a sophisticated yet easy to use off-the-shelf web mapping application that allows users to visualize and query spatial information over the web. The product has been designed to run on mobile devices, tablets, and PCs. Cadcorp SIS WebMap can be hosted or managed and installed locally for the end user. And there's things like advanced spatial queries making the application super intelligent for the end user. So it performs things like local knowledge, search by area, and has report it functionality within it, which we'll see in a second within the demonstration as well. And the what3words integration comes via a simple button that sits on the Cadcorp SIS WebMap interface. So this button is an optional add-in, and it extends the location-based search capabilities by allowing the user to either click on the map and you'll get returned a 3-word address. If you know what that 3-word address is, you can input the 3 words and it will locate accordingly to the correct place on the mapping interface as well. And as Patrick has said, it also has an auto suggest feature as well. So if you start typing in the first 2 words on the start of the 3rd word, it'll start recommending locations that you can go to based on the words that you're putting in. So it's quite an intelligent application. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at a couple of use cases. So the first use cases we're going to look at is utilities, and then we'll touch on the local government, and we'll come to the emergency services, which will cover police and fire as well. So there's use cases for everybody that's attending this webinar, and we'll go through these now so you can see how these work. Okay, so I'm just going to minimize my presentation, and what I've got in front of me is the Cadcorp SIS WebMap interface. And as we've said, it's a really simple and easy application that allows users to visualize and query spatial information over the web. So what you'll see in front of us is we've got a nice big slippy map, which we are using the Ordnance Survey Zoom stack data to present as a base map at the minute. So if we zoom in, for example, you'll see it goes through all the different base mapping levels for the Zoom stack data. And then what we'll get presented right at the end is kind of our master map data that allows us to see more details such as building outlines, building names and things like that as we zoom in. So we go right down to master map, and you can see all the information in front of us as well. So our first example is the utilities. So we've got if I just go back home, we've got a number of different water pumping stations, and we can see where all these are on the map, which is great. A lot of these are a lot of big sites. So what we can do is we can use our quick search to type in a particular postcode that we are interested in. So what this will do is it'll look through all the different search facilities that we've got. So the first one that comes up is specific to our pumping station, which is great because that's where we want to locate to. But what you'll also see is we've got our general address data in there that could come from our local authorities, LLPG. And then we've got kind of web services that we can fit in as well. So we've got one that says, are you looking for a town? And are you looking for a village? And because they don't relate to a postcode, it's not presented any results back. But these are options that allow you to do address searching. And then what we can do is, because I'm interested in that particular pumping station, I can click on it and the map will locate to that exact location, which is great. But as we've said, we've got maybe a delivery that's happening at this postcode. But as you can see from the map, there's a lot of different sites that we might be dropping off at. So that postcode is great because it gets us to the general location. But what it doesn't do is tell us where we should actually be going. So this is where we can use our what3words application, which is a great additional add-in for the addressing. And from the options that you see, the first option that we can do is we can return the what3word address. So if I click on the icon, what you can see is if I click over the first building that we might be interested in, you'll see that we get presented very quickly with our what3word address for that particular building to the north of the site. If I click to the east of the site, we can see that we've got families, workloads, hypnotist to the east, and then we might be locating to the building to the south of the site as well. So again, if I another click again, and that tells us that that what3word address is drag, bypasses, and cricket. So it's a really good way of getting the address for the what3words application to make it easier for people to navigate to exactly the right building within that big site that we've got available. What it can also do is the water pumping stations that we've got that we are maintaining or looking after has some smaller hidden sites as well. So it's really good at allowing us to go to these individual sites that you might not even know exist. So in this example, we're going to say that we want to enter a what3word address. So I'm going to say we're looking for chef.novelists.luxury. And when I click search, what the system will do is it'll go away and it'll pinpoint our pumping station that we have in question this time. So this time we've used our what3words address to find the exact pumping station that we're after. And like I say, this is a smaller one that if our utilities engineer would come out to have a look, might not actually see where it is because it's right at the end of the road. And looking at that, it's quite a small pumping station at the end of the street. So that address gives us exactly the location that we should be heading towards in order to look at our pumping station that we've got available. So that's kind of our utilities example. What we're going to do now is we're going to look at our local authority example. So what we've got is we've had a member of the public ring up to report fly tipping on a particular footpath, and that footpath is located on Nelson Road in Basildon. So that's great. So I can find where Nelson Road in Basildon is, and I can click the address, and that takes me to the approximate location on the map. But what I can see straight away as an end user is that there are loads and loads of footpaths in this area. So a footpath off Nelson Road isn't giving me much to go off at all. So when I speak back to the caller, he gives me some more information and says that maybe the footpath is between is to the rear of 25 to 53. So that's great because that narrows down where the location is. But again, there's still multiple different footpaths. It narrows it down a little bit, but this could be coming off other roads as well. So we need something that's a bit more accurate in order to report where this fly tipping is. So we then find out from the user that he's got a what3words address. So if I say I want to click on what3words and I want to enter our location, if I type in lions.payer.mouth, and what you'll see as well, actually, I've got to mention first time, is that it's auto suggestion our features this time. So as we're doing it, we can click on any of those that come up, but this is the one that I'm after. If I type in search, what you can see is it's located to within 3 meters of where that fly tipping is, which is brilliant for what we want to do next, which is actually report that to the local authority. So what I can do now is using the functionality that exists within the Cadcorp SIS WebMap, I can say that I want to create a report, and this report is going to be reporting fly tipping, and I'm going to do this by clicking on the map. So I'm going to click on the location of where that what3word address was, and I can click next. I'm then going to enter a valid email address. So I'm going to enter my email address, and then we can put additional comments in there. So I'm going to put fly tipping on footpath, and then I'm just going to write what3words, lions.payer.mouth, so that when the person that comes out to look at it knows where that what3words address is, so he doesn't have to spend time finding that individual location. The member of the public as well has also sent me an image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the fly tipping image, and I'm just going to verify that we are not robots. And when I click submit, that gets submitted into a spatial database, so it's been recorded. But it can also send an email out to people to say that this incident, this fly tipping incident, has been logged. So somebody needs to deal with it. And then just to show that it's in the database, if I go into our reported instance, you'll see on the 6th of the 10th, 2020 at 11:27, we've got an incident of reported fly tipping. And when we click on our point, we can see the description, which is fly tipping on footpath, what3words, which is what we typed in. And then when I say show more, we can see the remaining attributes. So we might have a report type in there. We've got the east and north in. We've got the log date, and then we've also got the image that went along with that. So this is an example of where that what3words address has made it really accurate to allow us to report the fly tipping for this particular incident to the local authority. So now we can move over to our emergency services. So the first one we're going to look at is our fire service. So we've had in this example, we've had a report of our hydrants being faulty on a particular hydrant being faulty on a street in Camden. So we've been passed the details. So I'm going to say this is on Arlington Road in Camden. And what we can do is, again, we can use our quick search to locate where that street is, which is great. If I go into my map features, I'm going to say that I want to have a look at my fire hydrants and I want to look at my road network as well. So I've just highlighted the street so you can see the issue that goes with this one. So you can see this is the Arlington Road, which is the black line we've got on the map. But you'll see that's a long road, and there's a number of different hydrants that belong to that street. So finding which one is faulty is going to be really difficult unless I get more precise location. So maybe as a user, I can say that I know there's an attribute on those hydrants that tell me whether it's faulty or not. So if I go into search by area, I can say that I want to search for all the hydrants. And to define the search area, I'm going to select the feature. So I'm going to select the road in question, but I'm also going to add a buffer of 10 meters to include all the hydrants within 10 meters of that particular road segment. So when I click on the map, I can see that I've got the road name in question, which is good. And then when I click search, it presents me with all the hydrants that are within 10 meters of that road. So straight away, I can see that I can see all my hydrant references. The status is telling me whether these are operational or there's a fault that's been reported on them. So what I can do is if I go to my status, I'm able to filter that data and say maybe I'm only interested in those that have got a fault. And that narrows it down, but I can still see there's 4. So they might be at either ends of the street. So we still need something more precise in order to work out where that faulty hydrant is. So again, we get now what we get is past a what3word address. So if I go into what3words, I'm going to say we want to enter a location, and that location is worm.pocket.overnight. And what it will do is if I click search, it will show us, it will locate on the map, and it will show us exactly where that particular hydrant is, which is great because when we if I just click on to close that down, move my box. If I just click on that hydrant, we can see the show more attributes. So we can see the hydrant, we can see the ward name, and this time we can see that it's faulty and it's damaged. So this is the one we're looking at. We might have an image that goes with it. So you've probably seen that from the street anyway, but this is making it more accurate, a way of looking at that particular hydrant. And what we could do is you could have a link that links back to that what3word website that shows you where that particular hydrant is using the what3word website as well. So again, that could allow you to see what the next 3 squares were if you were looking at a particular site as well. Okay. And then our last example is going to be looking at the police. So we've shown examples here today of different functionality that can be used, but another one that might be used by the police is for kind of the advanced analysis about location data. So, what I'm going to do straight away is we're going to go to a particular address. So I'm going to go to my what3word address. I'm going to say I want to enter a location straight away. So we're going for affair.dots.mats, and when I click search, it takes me to Bradford train station, which is great. But what we can do now is we can use our local knowledge, which is a web service that makes queried data easily accessible to the end user. And it will list all of the information that's related to that train station within a particular area that we've set up. So we can identify the divisional commander, the area priorities. We can see the number of crimes that have happened in that area. If we're interested in firearms, we can see where the nearest firearms are to that particular train station and where the nearest 5 CCTV cameras are. And if we were to click on one of them, again, we can see we've got attributes that are set up that allow us to see more details about that CCTV camera. So we've got whether the status is non-operational, who's it owned by, what the property description is, and maybe an image in there as well. But it's important that those 3 squares that we're using for the what 3 words could provide different answers. So if we were to go to a different what 3 word address, so this one has got this one, I'm going to enter hans.cans.salon. If I click search, this takes us to Wakefield police station. Again, it's very accurate in the way that it's done it. And then if we were to search for local knowledge this time, the divisional commander and the area priorities are the same, but again, this then shows us different crimes. So this time we've got 222 crimes, and it gives us the most common incident based on this 3 meter grid square that we've searched on, and where the nearest firearms and CCTV cameras are. So it's a really good way of viewing location intelligence based on the what 3 word address that we've just entered. So that kind of covers the use cases. So you've seen us look at utilities and navigating around large sites. We've used our local authority to show how it can be used to accurately report fly tipping. And then we've used our emergency services to, one, have a look at identifying hydrants as an example more accurately, so that we can identify faults easier. And then we've also looked at analysing our data for our police information as well. So if I just come back to our PowerPoint, what I'm going to do is, so the key takeaways to take away today from this webinar is that what3words provides a great option to the standard address search capabilities. So it's a 3 meter grid square, provides a lot more accuracy in terms of finding the exact location that the user is interested in. Cadcorp SIS WebMap makes it easy to search for a what3words address and also enter a known what3words address. The Cadcorp SIS WebMap functionality, such as local knowledge, report it, and search by area, which are those functionalities you've seen today, enhances the what3words address procedure and information about that address. And then what3words is an add-in is as simple and easy to integrate with Cadcorp SIS WebMap as you've seen today. So it's a really good application to get in there. And what we'll do now is we'll take any questions that have been asked as we've been doing the demonstration. So I can see that one of the first questions is for me. So it's asking Cadcorp, how do I add the what3words to the Cadcorp SIS WebMap? So there are 2 things that you need to do. So the first one is you need to visit the what3word address website and register for an API key. And then what you can then do is you can contact your Cadcorp account manager and they'll get things set up for you. So hopefully that answers your question. I think Patrick, you've got a question on that list as well.
Yeah, so the first one from Larry. Hello, Patrick. How did your recent trip to Australia go with your emergency services discussion? So yeah, thanks very much for the question. I guess in brief, really promising. The main focus for us in the emergency services world is very much the UK, in the sense of the vast majority of our kind of case studies and users are obviously in the UK. Off the back of this work, we're looking to see what other markets or what other areas what3words may be able to help in, and one of those is Australia. And yeah, it's very, very exciting. Couple of early conversations. Tasmania ambulance used what3words very effectively the other day, which hit the headlines as well, which is really exciting. So yeah, in short, very, very positive, but still some way to go in Australia yet.
Okay. There's a question, it's probably for you, Patrick, I think. It says, does the app include routing? So if you identify a location, can you also provide a route to this location from your current position?
So yeah, it's a good question. So I guess there's an important distinction to make in that what3words as a system is not a navigation system. We're not a mapping provider. We're not a navigation tool per se. We're really just an address that can sit on top of or integrate into any other navigation tool, mapping system, routing application. So from the app, what you can do is you can type in a 3-word address. There's a navigate button. When you click the navigate button, it will push the coordinates for the 3-word address you want to navigate to into any other routing application. So, for example, if you use Google Maps, if you hit the navigation button, it will push you into Google Maps and automatically set a route on the Google Maps. Hope that's answered your question.
Excellent. There's one for me here that's saying, is there an API to make the local knowledge function available to emergency control rooms? So the answer to that is yes, there is. So that is part of the web services that the Cadcorp SIS WebMap provides. So you can use it in WebMap, or there is a web service that you can tap into and make that available within the control room as well. So I think that might be all of the questions that we've had today. There's a couple more that come in after we've done this. We'll take them offline and get back in touch with the users that have asked the questions. So yeah, I just want to say on behalf of me and Patrick, thank you everybody for listening. I hope you found that really informative, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you very much.